Hey everyone, this is StarCraftDad and welcome once again to StarClass. Today we'll be doing a replay review, reviewing a replay sent to me by CmdrTallon here in the blue. He has just started Season 3 and this is his qualifying game, and he emailed me his replay asking for a couple of pointers, and I said, well, how about we just go ahead and do a cast with that and we can share those results with the other readers. And it's more fun, I think, to watch a cast with some commentary rather than just reading an email with some bullet points. So I've already watched this replay. I know how it's going to end up, but in all honesty, how a game ends is not all that important for reviewing a replay of your own game and trying to find out ways that you can improve. So first off, let me say that I had no idea whether CmdrTallon came into this game with a particular build in mind. But since I know the outcome of the game, let's just go ahead and assume that what he ended up building was his plan. When the loading screen was coming up and he saw what map he was playing on and what race he was playing against, he said, this is the build I'm going to do. So his plan is to build 2 barracks, build a factory, build 2 starports with tech labs, and build 4 Banshees, and send those Banshees to his opponent's base. And so because of that, he's going to want some secrecy. He doesn't want a scout to come into the base and see that he's building these Banshees, that he's rushing for Banshees. And he's going to want to build those Banshees as quickly as possible and research that cloak ability as quickly as possible. So here we can see he's doing a couple things. He's going ahead and starting his gas, which is good. And he's walling off his base, which is good as well. Now, one slight improvement that we could make here is he could go ahead and, rather than walling off with 2 supply depots and a barracks, since he's going to build 2 barracks to defend with, he could go ahead and wall off with his 2nd barracks. So this is a point in the game where, you know, he's got a supply depot, he's got 70 minerals. You know, he could go ahead and start going down that path of building buildings, and he actually wouldn't even be supply capped. If you look here, he has a supply cap of 27 and 13 supplies, so if he didn't have this building, his supply cap would be 17. So he would still have some space to build some units here, Marines or SCVs, and you can see he started a Marine here. So that's maybe the first step. Let's put another barracks there, and we'll see how long. Let's look at this time clock here. He's at 2 minutes and 36 seconds, and he would have had to save up a few more minerals before he could start this barracks, but you know, let's see when his 2nd barracks gets finished. So he's sending this SCV back up to here, and he's going to wait a little bit and send him somewhere else. And so you can see here he's building up minerals. So again, I don't know if this was his original plan to go for Banshees, but you know, you can see there's a little bit of optimizing we could do here. And if he wasn't doing that plan originally, he can look at this replay, pick up some of these pointers, and execute this plan very efficiently the next time. So one of the big things to be looking out for is ways that your buildings are not being utilized to their full extent. So these 2 barracks, we're going to be watching these 2 barracks to make sure that they're building Marines at a pretty constant rate, and also, very importantly, that this command center is building SCVs at a constant rate. So, you know, keeping an eye up on this mineral count. As soon as you have minerals to build something, to go ahead and build it. Now, of course, we don't want to do that at the expense of delaying a building. That's very important. As you saw right here, he went ahead and decided to upgrade this orbital command. Now, he's pretty close to the 100 gas that he would need for a factory. So had he not done that, he could have built a factory right there. And let's look right here. He needs 150 minerals and 100 gas to build that factory. He's got 135, and it looks like he's not building a Marine there. So he could have cut this Marine and started building that factory sooner. He's up to 4 minutes and 24 seconds now. So he's at a pretty good clip. But you can see there's just a little slight bit of improvement that he could eke out there. Now he's going to need a lot of gas because he's going to be building a factory and 2 starports and Banshees out of those right away, and tech labs. All those things require gas, so he's going to need a lot of gas. But he's okay, so here comes this SCV. He's probably going to be building a factory. Boom, there you go. Okay, so now he's building his factory, and it is almost 5 minutes. So building a factory, at this point, is it worth it for him to start building a tech lab? You know, it's going to take some time for the two starports to be built. I think it takes about a minute. So he's got some time before that happens. So he could still continue to be building SCVs and building Marines out of here, unless he's going to use this tech lab for one of the starports. He doesn't really need it, unless he's going to be building Marauders, or if he's going to be researching some tech. But of course, either of those use gas, and that's something that's he's going to need for those Banshees. So you can see here he got supply blocked at 27. So although earlier he could have waited on getting that supply depot, he definitely needs, now that he's got a lot of buildings, building things, he's got these 2 barracks, and he's got his orbital command building things. He does need to keep up with that building supply depots. But you can see here, because he's supply blocked, now that was an interesting choice. As soon as he got supply blocked, we're going to rewind just a little bit here and see. Okay, just a little bit further. Okay, so right now he's not supply blocked. He has 26 supply with a cap of 27. And he's building this Marine. So he can build one more thing before he's going to be blocked. His factory is almost done. He has 100 minerals. And let's slow this down just a wee bit. Okay, so he's going to be building something probably pretty soon, and then he will be blocked. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so we can see here that he's building 2 SCVs. Now, as soon as this factory finishes, he's got plenty of gas. He's going to want to start building the starports, and he's already got this tech lab started. So remember what I said earlier about the tech lab only being needed when the starports are finished. So one thing that he could do here to slightly improve this a little bit is to, and see, looky here. So he's got 2 Marines queued up. So if he cuts a Marine, that's 50. He cuts the tech lab. I think tech labs are 50, aren't they? Yeah, tech labs are 50. So if he cuts a Marine and he cuts the tech lab, he'd have 185 minerals and 200 gas. So he could be just about ready, for sure, to start that starport as soon as this factory is done. So, I mean, that's kind of one of the things you could be looking for as you look through your replays. You know, first you need to have a goal in mind, and then you can start looking at your buildings and your units to see where you can cut just a little bit more time out. And he's doing pretty good, though. I mean, look at this. We're at the 5-minute mark. You know, the medium computer AI at 5 minutes will be sending, what, 3 Marines and 2 Marauders at this point, so or coming up pretty soon. So, you know, he's doing pretty good, but you can see he could be getting things out just a wee bit faster. So let's watch and see if he's got, okay, so right now he's got a tech lab ready to go. As soon as this factory is done, he could turn around and start building a starport. And even now, even though he's building, okay, now here's an important, this was kind of the point I meant to go back to. So right when he finds out that he's supply blocked, that means that he can't build any units, any more units that he's got running, like this SCV. So he's got kind of 2 options. One is he can start doing tech, he can start researching tech, and you can see this Marine is blocked. So if we go ahead and cancel this guy, because he won't be able to be built for another, I can't remember how long these take to build. Let's take a look. Supply depots take 30 seconds. So he's not going to be able to build this Marine for 30 seconds. So he might as well cancel him. That gives him 130 minerals. So he could start building this starport down here pretty quickly. If he cancels that Marine right now, he could build this starport and get started on that. Or he could go ahead and put down a tech lab. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So now once again, he's almost up to 150, so right here he could go ahead and start building a starport. So, and you'll see pretty shortly now he's going to actually start 2 starports all at once. So, now the reason why that's important is that the Banshees take some time to build. They take like, what, like a minute maybe to build? And so, bringing building these starports faster is better. And you can see, even before the starports went down, he had the tech labs ready to go. 2 tech labs, 1 for each starport. Now, even then, if he would have waited and not built the tech labs, he could have started the starports sooner and built the tech labs while the starports were building. And you can see he's doing that already with this factory. So that's a little bit more that he could eke out. Now that his supply block has been, he's really not supply blocked at all. He needs to be making sure that he's building things. So these career building Marines, that's great. And these starports are almost done. And he does need to be careful about spending too many minerals or too much gas, because as soon as these starports are done, he's done all this work to make sure that these tech labs are ready to go right away. So these starports, so he's lifting that one over. While that one's on its way, he could go over and lift up this factory. Doesn't necessarily need to do these one at a time. Got a couple of SCVs hanging around. So there's always some little things you can tweak up here. If you look here, he's got 50 energy on his orbital. There goes down the mule. So, you know, keeping that fresh. Now here's an interesting choice. He's building an engineering bay, but, you know, there's this emphasis on these starports. And if you just pause for just a second, so each Banshee costs 150 minerals and 100 gas. So he's just, this starport has just landed. He's almost away from being able to build 2 Banshees, 1 out of each. If he would have waited on this engineering bay, he would have enough to go ahead and start building those Banshees right away. The other thing that he wants to do is start researching Cloak, which takes 200 minerals and 200 gas. That's a lot. That's a lot. So each Banshee is going to be 100, that is 200, that leaves 236. So he could start doing Cloak right away. Now Cloak is going to take a long time to research. 110 seconds, so that's almost 2 minutes. But in 2 minutes, each Banshee is 60 seconds to build. So if he starts Cloak right now, or around now, by the time it's done, he'll have his 4 Banshees, which will be in 2 minutes, which will be at around the 10-minute mark. So he's making 4 Banshees by 10 minutes, which is good. But I think you can see here, just by making a few changes, he can get to that point much sooner. But so he's continuing to build SCVs. So you can see he's actually doing a pretty good job versus his opponent. Even if we look at his opponent, he's up on supply. He's got a higher supply, which is great. Zerg in general need to be ahead on supply on Terran, and you can see he's continuing to build these supply depots, which is good, because these Banshees each take 3 supply apiece. So he needs to keep up with that. Doesn't need to make this one. Are we keeping busy over here? We are. So, I mean, there's an interesting point. He could have waited on this supply depot and started Cloak. But in this case, Cloak isn't going to quite get started yet, which in some ways is fine. He needs Cloak to be ready when the Banshees attack, and there you can see him starting. They don't need Cloak when they leave the base. They need Cloak exactly when they attack. So if there's something else that he can use those minerals for, or that gas for, then he can wait on getting Cloak. But as we mentioned earlier, though, if he would have hit Cloak a little bit sooner, it would be done right as he finishes 4. Oh, hold on, I need to get my dog. And we're back. Okay, the joys of being a dog owner. So here he can go ahead and start building his 4th Banshee, and he's going to do that. Come on, you can do it. At some point, start building this Banshee. Building a Marine. Building an SCV. Build a Banshee! Come on! So another thing he could be doing with this SCV just sitting here is go ahead and build an armory, and that would allow him to research an attack upgrade for his Banshees, which would be great. There he goes. So he's going to be getting these Banshees out, and we'll take a look at the clock when they come out, and we're going to see something kind of interesting. So here he's going to go ahead and move out with 3 instead of 4, but really it's 4. You know, we'll just assume that 4 was the number he was looking for. So he's got these 3 at 10 minutes. Now, if you look at the map, we can see that CmdrTallon has not been doing any scouting. So this is a pretty big map. So he doesn't know where his opponent is, whether they're close by air, which would be the close by air position, which would be great over here in the 3 o'clock position, or whether they're all the way across the map down here in the 6 o'clock position, or pretty close over here at the 9 o'clock position. So at this point, since he hasn't done any scouting, it's kind of a 50-50 shot whether it's going to be close or far. And at 10 minutes, and these Banshees aren't super fast, you're going to see the price and time that he will pay by not scouting. So that's, I'd probably say with this particular game, that was the biggest thing I would say that he could improve on is scouting. And part of that is because the strength of this surprise attack is that timing. The more time that his opponent has to build up a defense or to build up money, in this case, in particular, in this case, you can see his opponent has a lot of money. But these Banshees are taking off at about 10:30, and they're going to make this slow move around the map. Now, if he had known where his opponent was, this is kind of an interesting aspect. So he's moving these Banshees around the map, these 3, and then this 4th one is going to join up here. So these 4. Now, because he doesn't know where his opponent's base is, he's going to have to be very careful with these Banshees, because even though they can turn on cloak, there is a possibility that he's going to accidentally run into his opponent's base. There's going to be a bunch of sport crawlers, and they're just going to get shot down. So he's going to have to keep going back and forth between controlling these 4 Banshees around the entire map, looking for his opponent. He's picking the crosswise position. When if he would have scouted, he could have hit them. Actually, this opponent is much closer. He could have hit him a minute ago, and these Banshees are hanging out. So you can see there's a price between having these guys, having to micromanage these Banshees around the map just to make sure that he doesn't lose his investment. And you can see back at the base, because he's micromanaging them, he's not continuing to keep his barracks busy. He's doing a pretty good job of getting Banshees, but whoa, look at this. So he's got 2 more Banshees in the queue, which, and this Banshee first started, so that's a lot of minerals, a lot of gas he could be spending somewhere else. And if you look up here on his resource tab, he's got almost 500 minerals. So here's another step of just further refinement upon this build, which is actually, seems to be going pretty well. Is that after this attack, you do want to have a plan, a plan of where to go next. You have to be ready, unless you're just going to do an all-in off of one base with everything you've got all at once. You want to have a plan just in case this doesn't work. And in this case, he does have a contingency. He's got these Marines and this Marauder behind this wall, but he can go ahead and start building a second base. So as soon as he gets to that 400, he can go ahead and start building another command center. But at a minimum, he should go ahead and just continue to make units, and you can see he's starting to do that, starting to build a Marauder, making use of some of that extra money. And he's about to be supply capped here, 75, so we can go ahead and start building a supply depot. So a lot of this is just managing your units and making sure they're busy. Let's go back to Talon's view. Looks like all of his SCVs are busy. That's good. And he's got 3 on gas here and 2 on gas here, so he could add another SCV to this gas, and you can see that he's using up his gas pretty well. So that's all pretty good, fine and dandy, and these Banshees are going to make their way around the map. So we'll see what time they eventually hit this base, because that's the price that he's paying right now for not scouting, is the time it takes for these 4 Banshees. He made these Banshees back at 10 minutes and 30 seconds, so he's had them now for almost 2 minutes, and they haven't paid off yet. In fact, in those 2 minutes, he's built even more Banshees. So, that's something to consider here, is that, if we rewind the clock back, and they're still making their way all the way around, and he's having to watch them, micromanage them. He's getting supply blocked. There's the supply blocked. So, and he's building these turrets, you know, expecting maybe Submutilus Cuirass or something like that. But I mean, honestly, if he was worried about Mutilus, he needs to be pumping out Marines. And there's some other things he can do for that. So right now these Banshees have finally found that base. So if we look at the clock, those Banshees have been in the air for almost 2.5 minutes. So he could have hit this base or this base over here about 2.5 minutes ago, and followed up with another round of 4 at this point. And yeah, or this 5, this one's about to come out here. So, you know, in general, I really think that probably the one thing that he could do to improve this build would be scouting, because, you know, he's hitting the time perfectly. The Banshees have cloak, they're ready to go. Had he scouted, they would have saved 2.5 minutes, and these Banshees could have killed a whole lot of drones in that time. In general, I would say scouting is probably the one thing to improve here, and it's something pretty easy to do. You just got to send out an SCV and go look for the opponent's base. You know, of course, when you're microing things, he could always be building things while he's out. You know, right now his focus is over here on these 4 Banshees just doing their job. But through the use of hotkeys, he could have these barracks or these 2 starports on a hotkey and be building. At this point in the game, it really doesn't matter. So he's just focusing on winning the game at this point, which is good. But you know, and here he goes building some supply depots to get unsupply blocked. But you know, it's I don't know. It's just a pretty good game, and he won the game, did very well for his first game in Season 3. And yeah, I think the main thing here is scouting, keeping things busy all the time, like these barracks and this command center. And, you know, go ahead and have a plan for what's the next step. You know, after these Banshees hit, I mean, he had a plan to build a lot more Banshees here, so that's just great. But, you know, he could have built several command centers by now, which, you know, in the context of this game, he's right now just, you know, cleaning up these bases. For some reason, Zerg decided not to attack with everything they had, which, you know, could have forced him to come back home. But he's got a pretty good force here. So I think overall, in this particular matchup against Zerg at this level, you know, this build was fine. But I think, you know, if anything, if he comes into the match knowing what he's going to do, and, you know, for all I know, a lot of this was just done on the fly here, going for these Banshees. But you can see what the difference would be if he came into the game planning to build these starports, planning that 4 Banshee attack. Not only could have he scouted and then hit with the Banshees several minutes earlier, but even just some slight tweaks to when he built his buildings. Right now he has 3 tech labs. He has basically not used this tech lab at all. He could have, you know, really sped that up to get those sooner. And once he's, you know, built up to that point to get those 4 Banshees, you can tell he's just got the resources flowing in to do some other things. And that, I think, would probably be the other pointer besides scouting, would be to, so the first one is to have a plan when you go in, and the second one is to scout, especially for this plan where it depends on him surprising his opponent as soon as possible. And the third one would be to have a plan for what to do next. This is something that I have a hard time with in my games, is I'll focus on this, you know, original plan. What am I going to do in the first 10 minutes? And then after that, I'm at a loss at what to do next. And so in his case, I mean, I think he's got, you know, he's got some pretty good macro skills building up here and building SCVs. He kept building these SCVs at a pretty good clip. If we look at the supply station, you know, he's up to 24 workers, so he could be keeping that up, and he did get supply blocked there. But, I mean, again, you kind of got to look at the game in context. You know, at this point, he knows that he's winning. He knows that actually these 4 Banshees were enough to really throw his opponent off. So, you know, and even that's an interesting point. He could have brought these 4 in much sooner, and his opponent would have been even less prepared then. So, But yeah, you know, a short game, but you know, as you can see, there's a lot you can learn from a game. Looking at how well you're keeping your buildings busy, how well you're keeping your units busy. These units up here, you know, he really had these for defense, although he could have been possibly doing something with these, attacking, putting pressure on the front, getting his opponent to think about other things. You know, in some regards, the Zerg had a lot of ground forces here that could have hit much sooner, and you know, he really did need some kind of defending force here up at the front. So I don't think it's a big deal that his units weren't out and about causing trouble. But then again, you know, he could have sent a couple of Marines to every starting location just to look and see and scout. Not only be a couple of Marines to send out, and he would have gained a huge advantage in knowing where his opponent was, especially if he comes into this game with this plan. So, so yeah, I think that that's pretty much it. You know, go into the game with a plan, scout, and have a plan for what to do next. So that'll be it for today's Star Class, and I'll talk to you guys next time.